My name is Alon Kasuto and I am the CEO of the Zionist Federation of Australia, an elected representative roof body for the Australian Jewish community. We've called this press conference to announce that I will be filing a complaint with the Australian Human Rights Commission against former SBS newsreader Mary Kostakidis. I'm a proud Australian and a Jew, and a dual Israeli citizen. My grandfather, Trevor Rapke, was born in Melbourne to Jewish Polish immigrants in 1909, and because of the great opportunities that this country afforded him, he became a Rear Admiral and Judge Advocate General of the Australian Navy, as well as a County Court Judge in Victoria. Australia welcomed my grandfather, and in turn, he served this nation with distinction. Australia is home to one of the world's great multicultural communities. We cannot afford to take this social harmony for granted. Everyone here today is aware that we are currently facing an explosion of anti-Semitism and extremism in Australia. It is creeping into the mainstream and it's eroding social cohesion. This hate starts with hate speech. And this hate speech is a threat not only to Jewish Australians, but to all Australians. Nobody should reproduce overseas conflicts on our streets. It must be called out for what it is, and it must be stopped. And those like Mary Kostakidis, who have a status and a platform and a responsibility to lead, need to promote cohesion, not division. I will now pass to Jeremy Liebler, President of the Zionist Federation of Australia.
Thank you, Alon. I'm here today in my capacity as President of the Zionist Federation of Australia, an elected representative roof body of the Jewish community, to lend my support to the brave decision of my CEO, Alon, to take a stand against anti-Semitic hate speech in this country. Mary Kostakidis recently shared a call by Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, a proscribed terrorist organisation in Australia, for Jews to be ethnically cleansed from the river to the sea. In a televised speech in Beirut earlier this year, the Secretary General celebrated the Hamas massacre on the 7th of October, and he delivered a very clear message to all Jewish Israelis. He said, and I quote, "Here, it's going to be very difficult for you. If you want to be secure, if you want to feel secure, you have an American passport, go back to the United States. You have a British passport, go back to the UK. Here, you don't have a future. From the river to the sea, the land of Palestine is for the Palestinian people and for the Palestinian people only." Alon's complaint to the Australian Human Rights Commission alleges that sharing this call by the Secretary General of Hezbollah is unlawful racial vilification in breach of Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. For the Secretary General of Hezbollah, this rally cry is not a call for equality, peace, or a two-state solution in any way whatsoever. It's a call to ethnically cleanse the 7 million Jewish Israelis that live between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. He lays bare what these words that are chanted on our streets are intended to mean by Hamas, by Hezbollah, and by Iran. It is a call for the ethnic cleansing of the Jewish people. Mary Kostakidis, for so long the trusted face of multicultural Australia, shared the Secretary General's of Hezbollah's call not once, but twice, and added her own commentary. Sharing this call by Hassan Nasrallah is not an isolated example. Mary Kostakidis has misused her platform to share extreme, hateful speech with her more than 29,000 followers on social media. The media just last week reported a number of sickening conspiracy theories that Mary Kostakidis has spread, which deny the events of Hamas massacre on the 7th of October, and indeed blame Israel for the Hamas terror attacks. She has also shared conspiracy theories that deny the use of sexual violence by Hamas on the 7th of October, including that an investigation by the New York Times is a, and I quote, scam, and that another by The Guardian does not pass the sniff test. In his complaint, Alon Cousuto will be asking for Mary Kostakidis to acknowledge that it is unlawful hate speech to share the calls for ethnic cleansing of Jews by the leader of a terrorist organisation, one that is prescribed in Australia, and for her to apologise to all of those that have been impacted and offended by her speech. Thank you for coming, and I'm happy to take some questions.
You described this as a significant complaint. Why do you feel that is significant?
Well, we are experiencing an explosion of anti-Semitism and extremism in this country. And for Mary Kostakidis, who was, the trusted face of SBS for I think it was over 20 years, to be sharing a call for the ethnic cleansing of Jews by the leader of a prescribed terrorist organisation at a time when we are experiencing this sort of explosion in anti-Semitism, I think is of very immense significance. It also follows, of course, the Prime Minister of Australia calling out this chant as inherently violent. It follows the former head of ASIO describing this chant as violent, and a Senate resolution that was overwhelmingly passed by the Senate condemning use of this slur.
And you spoke about wanting an apology as a result of this complaint. What is the outcome that you're seeking from making this complaint? Is it to set an example about this kind of behaviour?
So Mr. Cousuto is asking for an apology to the Australian Jewish community for the impact of this slur and for the offending tweets to be removed. But this is really about sending a message as well to hold Mary Kostakidis for account, someone with a very significant platform who we believe is misusing her platform. But I would hope that this would send a message to all Australians that we cannot bring this sort of hate speech from the other side of the world. We cannot bring conflicts from the other side of the world over here on the streets of Australia. And so we hope that with this action, a very strong message will be sent that this sort of hate speech is simply unacceptable.
You describe this as amounting to saying that calling for the ethnic cleansing of Jewish people. The words specifically do not say that in the statement provided. So you're going to be making your case as to why you believe this statement is what you've suggested that it amounts to.
Well, if you read the quote, and specifically the last line that says, "From the river to the sea, the land of Palestine is for the Palestinian people and the Palestinian people only." And when you have regard to the fact that you have an accomplished Australian journalist with a platform sharing this comment made by the Secretary General, Hassan Nasrallah, of Hezbollah, a terrorist organisation prescribed in Australia, I think it's pretty clear and pretty explicit what this chant is calling for.
Just finally, would you have any comment to make? There's been some talk today about the need to lower temperatures of these kinds of debates and civility in public discourse. Would you have any comments to make more broadly about what Jewish people experience and the need to improve that kind of dialogue and respect?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I echo calls from anybody to lower the temperature. In relation to this action specifically, Alon has written to Mary Kostakidis, and she has the ability to turn around and apologise and withdraw these comments, and we can move on, and there'll be a lot less noise. In terms of the broader question about the experience of anti-Semitism of the Jewish community since the 7th of October, I think the most traumatic part for the community was, on the one hand, seeing what took place on the 7th of October, where the largest number of Jews in any one day were murdered since the Holocaust. Seeing that occur by a community in Australia where we have the highest proportion of Holocaust survivors per capita of any country in the world outside of Israel. And to, within such close proximity of this trauma, this horrific event of the 7th of October, to see people on the streets shouting, "Where are the Jews?" burning Israeli flags, calling for the ethnic cleansing of Jewish people, is not the Australia that I know. It's not the Australia that my Holocaust survivor grandparents knew. And it's not the Australia that really gave the Australian Jewish community a genuine, real refuge from the horrors of the Holocaust. And I think it is all of our responsibilities, both high-profile Australians like Mary Kostakidis, but every Australian, to ensure that we keep foreign conflicts outside of this country and we maintain the true multiculturalism that has made Australia so great for the last 50 years.